Welcome back to another daily devotional. Whew, I just finished eating my lunch and my dinner. I got done with my run and I was a little hungrier than I anticipated. But I wanted to get this video recorded, so let's do this. We are on day 4 of Warrior on YouVersion Bible app. And we've got a couple of verses today, so let's jump into them. Joshua 1, 5 through 9. There's like a whole couple of warrior-style Bible plans that just revolve around Joshua. So eventually we're going to get to those because they're on my list. But I feel like there's one that I want to do soon about just going through the books of Proverbs because I'm curious. All right, so let's jump in. Joshua 1, verse 5. We're going to, no one will be able to stand against you all the days of your life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Be strong and courageous, because you will lead these people to inherit the land I swore to their ancestors to give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the law my servant Moses gave to you. Do not turn from it to the right or to the left, that you may be successful wherever you go. Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it daily and night. Meditate it on day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. I have not commanded you. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Those are pretty reaffirming words, I tell you what. Next, we're going to jump to Judges 6, 12 through 24. Oh man, they want me to read a lot today. When the angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, he said, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." "Pardon me, my Lord?" Gideon replied. "But if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? Where are all his wonders that our ancestors told us about when they said, 'Did not the Lord bring us out of Egypt?' But now the Lord has abandoned us and given us into the hand of Midian." The Lord turned to him and said, Go in the strength you have, and save Israel out of Midian's hand. Am I not sending you?" "Pardon me, my Lord," Gideon replied, "but how can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh, and I am the least in my family." And the Lord answered, "I will be with you, and you will strike down all the Midianites, leaving none alive." And Gideon replied, "If now I have found favor in your eyes, give me a sign that it is really you talking to me. Please do not go away until I come back and bring my offering and set it before you." And the Lord said, "I will wait until you return." Gideon went inside, prepared a young goat, and from an ephah of flour he made bread without yeast. Putting the meat in a basket and its broth in a pot, he brought them out and offered them to him under the oak. The angel of God said to him, "Take the meat and the unleavened bread, place them on the rock, and pour out the broth." And Gideon did so. Then the angel of the Lord touched the meat and the unleavened bread with the tip of the staff that was in his hand. Fire flared from the rock, consuming the meat and the bread, and the angel of the Lord disappeared. When Gideon realized that it was the angel of the Lord, he exclaimed, "Alas, sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." But the Lord said to him, "Peace, do not be afraid. You are not going to die." So Gideon built an altar to the Lord there and called it, "The Lord is Peace." To this day, it stands in Ophrah of the Abiezrites. That was a lot to read, sorry. So Isaiah 26:3, "You will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are steadfast because they trust in you." Next is 1 Corinthians 16:13. "Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong." When we got God at our backs, Hebrews 13, verses 5 and 6. "Keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, 'Never will I leave you, never will I forsake you.' So we say with confidence, 'The Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Truth. That is truth. I mean, we can't let anything from this world cloud our vision, right, of us moving forward with Christ. So, The Warrior's Courage is the title of this devotion today. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than fear. That's FDR. All right. Jumping in. If you've been following Jesus for even a little while, you'd probably be willing to admit that it's not easy, and it definitely isn't always comfortable. You know what? It's not that it's not easy. We're just sinful creatures, and we would rather just do something that gives us pleasure instead of doing something that gives God pleasure. Especially if you've come to Christ later in life and you have to think back to the things that you used to do that you found enjoyable, but you're like, that doesn't really please the Lord. I can't do that anymore. So, sinful flesh, we all have it, right? Jumping back in, my wife, Alice, and I were a few years into our marriage and just setting up our dream life in a place we loved. I had a great job with benefits and plenty of growth opportunity. Alice had built a thriving photography business from the ground up. We had a nice, big house, plenty of friends and family, but then we heard God unmistakably say, go. Needless to say, we were scared. I had grown up in the city we lived in, and we had both found our footing in careers where we thought we could be successful. Could Alice move a business to a new state? How would moving away from family and friends work? Common sense said, don't go. Over the course of several months, however, consistent promptings from God solidified his plan. We were called to leave. We put our house on the market, put a notice at work, and God started to provide in ways that made no common sense. Gideon had a similar story. An angel of the Lord came to Gideon and told him that God had chosen him to defeat the Midianites that were oppressing the Israelites. But Gideon was the youngest in his family and the smallest clan, and Midian was much bigger and stronger than Israel. But God called Gideon a man of valor and reminded Gideon that he was with him. Like me, Gideon was a skeptic, so he asked the angel of the Lord to prove that Gideon had the power of God with him. Moments later, the angel of God literally sparked a fire out of some bread and broth on top of a rock. And you know what Gideon did next? He worshiped God, and then he moved in faith. I think godly courage is like that. God wants to use his imperfect people for his big and perfect will, and it's intimidating and downright terrifying sometimes. I've learned, however, that fear comes from a focus on our weakness. Courage comes when we remember the promises and faithfulness of our good God and remove the focus from ourselves. It is only then that we are able to step out in faith with confidence. Kind of wish the author would have added what they were actually called to go do. I'm sure if I looked up this gentleman, he might be like a pastor or something like that. But I totally feel that my wife and I were kind of in a similar boat. I had a decent paying job, and that allowed her to go back to school. I think she had gone back to school before I got the higher up position that I did have. But either way, I would have been making enough money to kind of cover for both of us. And she went back to school, finished her degree, went into education. She taught third and fourth grade for a couple of years. And then when she had gotten that job, or was just about to finish up getting her degree, so before she even got a job, I was like, I'm leaving my job, I'm going to go be a personal trainer. And let me tell you, when you first start as a personal trainer, especially when you do independent contractor work, you start with nothing. I mean, you start with 0 clients. You start with nobody knowing who you are, and it's a tough place to be. And it takes a long time to kind of build your roster of people. But luckily, the gym that we had just signed up to go to was looking for contractors to be trainers, and that's kind of where the opportunity opened up, and we've gone a long ways from then. So, you know, not back to anywhere where we have stable financial funds, but that's not really important. I mean, we have enough to live on, so we gotta appreciate that and thank the Lord for it. He's providing for sure. Okay, let's go into what to consider from this author. Where has fear stopped you from following God's promptings? Oh, that's kind of where I was leading with. When I jumped ship from my, I don't know, I was making like $52,000 a year or something. When I jumped and left that job, because I was like, that's the highest paying job I'm going to get for a while, and it went to making $0 a year. That was pretty terrifying. We hadn't come back to Christ yet in our lives, but I mean, he was definitely working. He was definitely pushing me into a different field than where I was at. Anyways, what step of courage can you take to obey him? Sometimes it's scary. Sometimes you just got to get it done. All right. Well, I'll see you guys on the next one.